I have been a Farm Bureau member for 64 years. 3 of those years as a member in Louisiana Farm Bureau when I was a farm broadcaster in Shreveport. In that length of time, you might guess that I have seen a lot of agricultural changes. I was brought up, born and raised in Mena, over in the western part of the state, right at the foot of Rich Mountain. And I can remember when there was cotton grown in Polk County, P-O-L-K. That's been a long time ago. If you can imagine those little gravelly creek bottoms, they were growing cotton. That was their cash crop. I graduated from high school in Mena, attended the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville. I wound up in the College of Agriculture with a degree in general agriculture by the grace of God. I went up to the University of Arkansas not knowing anything about what I wanted to study. For some reason or other, I got into pre-veterinary medicine. Well, it was exactly 75 years later that it finally dawned on me that God was guiding me, because if I had become a veterinarian, I would have been wet, cold, and stinking all of the days of my life, and those are 3 things I'm just not real fond of. So after a year in vet school and the realization I wasn't going, after a year in pre-vet and the realization I wasn't going to get in vet school, I went to the dean, wonderful man, Jerry Hudson. And I said, I've got to have a degree out of this somehow. And he said, you can apply most of your hours toward a degree in general agriculture. I said, sign me up. I went to work for the University of Arkansas Cooperative Extension Service, only then it was called Agricultural Extension Service. Incidentally, in Arkadelphia, there was a lot of cotton grown in Clark County at that time. And there was no such thing as herbicides, no such thing as mechanical cotton pickers. After a couple of years in Clark County, I was transferred to Miller County down in Texarkana. Well, they had a little TV station down there then, KCMC TV in Texarkana. And we did a program out there weekly, and I enjoyed it and apparently did a pretty good job of it. I finally decided to leave the Extension Service and go to work full-time for KCMC TV as farm broadcaster. Well, that lasted a little while, and then I decided to go back to school and get a master's degree in public relations. There were only 3 schools in the country offered a public relations degree at that time: Boston, Brown, and Iowa. Well, I went broke at Iowa, so I know I couldn't have afforded Boston or Brown. Then came back to Arkansas and went to Little Rock as a radio and television specialist with the Extension Service in the state office, and worked there for several years, and then left again to go back into farm broadcasting. You know, there was a strange situation that occurred to me while I was a farm broadcaster, and I just realized one day that there was a much greater need for broadcast information that was not what I was doing on my programs. I was trying to take useful information and deliver it to agricultural producers so that they could use it for their own welfare. But what was really needed was take information from the entire scope of production agriculture and deliver it to the general public, because it was easy to recognize, easy for me to recognize at that time, that every single day more and more people knew less and less about agriculture. And it is a human characteristic. If you don't understand it, you will fear it. And so there is still a big need. However, how do how do you convince a station manager of that? Don't think I'm good enough to. So I got out of farm broadcasting and went into my own advertising agency. I was doing these professional speaking jobs all over the country, but I still had a little extra time. So in 1992, we put together Arkansas Outdoors and started that. We wanted a hunting segment, a fishing segment, and a cooking segment. So Jim got a line on a lady that neither one of us had ever met. Her name was Phyllis Spear. She lived at Buffalo City, up close to Mountain Home, and still does. She worked for the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission. So Jim and I made a deal, and we met Phyllis at the state park up at Mountain Home, up at Bull Shoals. And she was going to do a little cooking for us out there. So we put a microphone on Phyllis and one on me, and she had the fire going by the time Jim and I got there, and we were ready to go, and here we go, and she whipped up the finest peach cobbler you ever ate in your life in some iron cookware. And oh man, it was just a great segment. And after it was over, I said, well, Phyllis, I guess you've done a whole lot of television. She said, no, that's the first I've ever done. So Phyllis Spear is the best natural TV talent I've ever known. She catches on real fast, and she went with us for about 18 years until they finally took Arkansas Outdoors off the air. They ran those for several years, and then somebody got the wise idea, hey, let's go back through 18 years of Arkansas Outdoors programs and pull the cooking segments out and put those together and make a new series called Cooking on the Wild Side. And it has run on AETN ever since, and people know that it's a rerun. And I ask them, why do you watch it? And they tell me, we can't get that kind of TV anymore. In my 64 years as a member of Farm Bureau, 3 of which were in Louisiana, and incidentally, the Louisiana Farm Bureau awarded me their Farm Broadcaster of the Year award during that time. In all these 64 years, I've enjoyed my membership in Farm Bureau and have taken advantage of it in a great many ways. A lot of people have said, you have really had a blessed life. And you know what? They're right. I certainly have.